All right, what is going on, my good people? Back once again, it's the Be More Show. And we got plenty to talk about as usual from coaching changes and also this whole news that we got on Thursday afternoon. So let's start with the news that we got on Thursday afternoon specifically. Okay. So, I feel like for the Ravens, for Ravens fans, for those for those of us who love the Ravens. They are our sports everything at times, right? They're like everything we watch Sunday to Sunday, right? Like we love the content and all that. Every so often you get an unfortunate story, and then this is in the form of an accusation uh, by massage therapists against one Justin Tucker, and I don't want to talk about this for long, but I will talk about it. So let's get to the nitty gritty of the things first, and then I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't. Anyway, let's get into the details. Okay, I'm not gonna give everything because, of course, I'm sure y'all have heard. Y'all can read it yourself. Um, but Ravens Justin Tucker accused of sexual misconduct by 6 massage therapists, and the Baltimore Banner put this out. Um, basically saying that Tucker had asked for massages of certain regions. And two of the women said that Tucker brushed him with said region. And three of them um, discovered a little more than they had bargained for. Like I said, Baltimore Banner, y'all can read it for yourselves. I'm trying to keep it as, I don't know, should I say PG? I don't know. I'm trying to keep it as, I'm trying to keep the monetization I don't have. I'm trying to keep it okay. Uh, right, big trouble in Little China. Look, Kendo. Look, I mean, it just bad to worse. Like I mean, and I mean, last off season I think we had a situation too. Uh, but it's very interesting, to going into this because once again, the biggest thing is we talking of allegations. Um, between 2012 and 2016 uh, in the Baltimore area. And, of course, the big question always is why is this coming out now? Why didn't it come out before? And, you can talk about the alleged victims in the situation where they just don't feel like that their opinion will be trusted. Um, but I think, if I'm not mistaken, another thing that I had heard is and this has caused an uproar with Ravens fans. Uh, Another thing that I'd heard is, I think it was possibly 2018, when the Ravens had found out about it. Apparently, some of these people, some of these alleged victims, had talked to the Ravens about it, and um, the overall consensus, at least for um, Ravens fans, is, well, if you knew about it, Ravens, Baltimore, Steve Bisciotti, John Harbaugh, maybe even EDC, if it's depending on who you talk to, why didn't you do anything about it? That's one of the big questions I'm seeing, especially on X right now. Why didn't you do something about it? Another thing I'm hearing uh, on X from the Ravens fans when I look into what Ravens fans are talking about this situation is, can the Ravens be trusted if they did cover this up? Now let's be honest. Let's talk about this first. If we say all things are true, we're talking hypotheticals now because we don't know at this point. But if we say all things are true, of course, the Ravens should be held accountable for what they knew in the situation, and Tucker and all that, that whole situation, would be handled right. But I think, instead of talking in hypotheticals, we got to talk about realism in this situation. And first things first, these type of allegations are very difficult to prove. A lot of times they just end up being settled, in more so it seems like hopes to save a reputation, possibly. Maybe, I mean, maybe nothing happened and you still want to save your reputation, but you still end up you know settling. But even still, regardless, um I, I feel like even still, regardless, in in the actuality of the situation, knowing what you know, if if the Ravens knew, of course that's trouble. But the thing about it is, when this is brought to you as an allegation, um, I'm sure the first thing you do is let the investigation be done, uh, and like I said previously, it's hard. It's difficult to prove, right? Because unless certain tests are taken at the time of certain things happening, it's hard to prove, especially years down the road. It becomes, the longer you wait, the harder it becomes to prove. So I feel like, realistically, even if the Ravens were told, because the thought is that the overall question in the matter is, should the Ravens have cut him or got rid of him, or suspended him after they found out, or at least were told about the situation, right? And once again, we're talking about a situation where it's hard to prove, right? Even if you call the Ravens facility and you talk to certain people, whether it be Harbaugh, whether it be Bisciotti, whoever, I mean, probably be Bisciotti first, I would assume, or the communications person first, or whatever. Um, no matter who you talk to, um, it was still, because I'm pretty sure it was so. I'm pretty sure the Baltimore Banner reached out to the Ravens, so they would have talked to a certain person, probably the communications person, more than likely, to get their message across. Now, once again, at that time, it's an allegation, and it really just depends on the investigation. And if this person did not come forward, then there really isn't any investigation in that. And as an organization, what do you do, right? Because this is a guy who you're in that locker room with day after day and in meetings, and you know him personally, you know his family, right? And I mean, of course, as Ravens fans, a lot of us probably wouldn't expect anything like this, but at the same time, I didn't expect anything like this out of Deshaun Watson either, in terms of those allegations too. So, like, I mean, I didn't expect anything. Once the allegations start to compound on themselves, then that's when you kind of gotta, you think about it a little bit differently. But I will say, in terms of the Ravens not doing anything, what were they to do? I would be my main question, is what were they to do? Because at the time, we talking about an allegation, we talking about um, a situation where it's not really anything that can be proved unless there's immediate action taken. And from a personal perspective, in terms of the guys in the building, who would think that Tucker, a married man who hasn't shown any signs of this before, who would say, who would think that, who would be able to prove it, who would say that this happened, who would believe that this happened, if you know the person. I think those are all valid questions and valid concerns to have. Now, for the fans who may feel like the Ravens may have acted unjustly, I think we have to think about it from the Ravens perspective too. um Kind of going back to it, you got to think about it from the Ravens perspective too. And it's like, for the Ravens, you kind of, in a lot of situations, you can make a premature statement, but at the same time, if you truly feel like your guy didn't do anything, then what do? You don't make a premature statement, run his name through the mud, and then now you got a stain on your team, and this guy who's played for your team. Now, if other things would have came out at that time, then I think it's a whole different conversation. Like, I mean, we're not talking about, for example, a Ray Rice situation where, you know, a report came out, you uh kind of denounced the behavior as like, hey, this is not what we support. Similar to Tucker's statement where he said this is not, I've always tried to handle myself in a professional manner. I mean, you know, even as a team, you denounce the behavior and then you kind of move on. That's what teams do. You know, they denounce the behavior and move on unless there is valid proof of what's going on. Of course, the Ray Rice situation, there was valid proof. So there was nothing the Ravens could do but take action, right? Take action or send it to the NFL and let them take action, or what, you know, however you want to say it, you know, however you want it to go. Same thing with, like, you know, the Kareem Hunt situation and stuff like that. So, you know, in this situation, this is such a hard one to prove, right? It's such a difficult one to prove because of when action is typically taken, and usually, unfortunately for victims of this crime, but also, you know, you can even say alleged victims in this case. A lot of times they wait to make their voice heard, and a lot of times it hurts them in the long run because, I mean, it's one of those things that's not as easy to prove. But anywho, we did get some changes in the Ravens front. We did get some changes in the Ravens front this week, and I know one of the big ones was interesting. It was a return to Baltimore. A return to Baltimore. You know, as a lot of people have kind of brought up potentially John Harbaugh, right? John Harbaugh and him having 1 year left on his contract. What does that mean? Does that mean he's going to resign? Is he not going to resign? You know, if the Ravens were to win a Super Bowl, would John Harbaugh resign, or would John Harbaugh kind of go out on top? That's a whole nother question to be had. If the Ravens don't win a Super Bowl next year, what does that mean for John Harbaugh in terms of the decisions that the Ravens have to make? We'll see. So that's been a big thing, but it wasn't about him. It was actually a return to the Ravens from years back. I want to say the Super Bowl run, and we had Chuck Pagano back in the building back in Baltimore with the Ravens. And interestingly enough, with Chuck Pagano, I'm excited about it. I think I've always respected Chuck Pagano a lot. When he was with the Colts, I was so excited for him to see what he was going to do. Of course, with the Ravens the first time, I was excited to see what he was going to do. And you know, I've pretty much rooted for Chuck Pagano everywhere he's went because I've just liked him as a stand-up guy. But I got a question for y'all. I got a question for y'all. Does this call into question one defensive coordinator, Zach Orr, right? Because now, I mean, Chuck Pagano, let me get the exact verbiage of what Chuck Pagano is. So he is the new senior secondary coach, right? Now, you're bringing in another veteran who knows how the Ravens like to play defense and knows kind of the Ravens culture of defense to help out this young defensive coordinator, you know, in a similar way to how you brought in Dean Pease as an assistant last year. And it really begs the question, how much do the Ravens trust Zach Orr, right? Now, do I feel like Chuck Pagano will end up being defensive coordinator or something? I mean, maybe interim if something crazy happens next year, but I mean, I don't see him coming back for a position like that because he had previously retired. But it's very interesting, you know. It's very, very interesting. It's very, very interesting to see what this means for Zach Orr. Because for Zach Orr, right, you wonder if he's losing trust a little bit. And like I said, I'm just playing devil's advocate here. I'm just looking at it from the complete other side of it. It's cool to have Chuck Pagano back, but I almost wonder, are the Ravens questioning Zach Orr right now because of the start he had last year? You don't want to start like that again. It took about half the season to get yourself right. And I mean, maybe it's just like, maybe you're helping the young guy. Maybe you're helping the young guy by putting veteran presences around him. Maybe. I mean, I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. I really don't. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. I would not be surprised if that's what happened. But at the same time, it could be twofold. It could be, don't know if I trust Zach Orr, right? Or maybe we got a security blanket in case the Zach Orr experiment doesn't work out. But at the same time, and he did turn the defense around, so we can have that conversation. But at the same time, it's like, maybe you're just trying to get some veteran leadership in the locker room, especially for, we talk about this a lot, for those big playoff moments when you desperately need to stop, when you desperately need this defense to step up and cause a turnover or whatever it may be. There was one more thing that I saw, and let me see if I can find it real quick. This was not planned, I promise y'all. But one more quick thing that I saw, and I wanna mention this. I really do. I want to mention this. I don't know. I think I took a screenshot of it, so I might not even have it. But it was a picture of Lamar Jackson. All right. Let me see. Lamar Jackson is a superhero. Let's see if I can pull it up real quick for y'all. And then we getting up out of here, all right? Let me see. I'm sure I can figure. I'm sure if I search if I put the right words in here, it'll come up, right? Maybe. I think that's too broad. Oh no, there it is. All right. So I don't know who came up with this. I'm not even gonna read the caption that came with it, but I'm gonna shift over real quick and show y'all this. All right, just so y'all can see it, because they still out here disrespecting my guy Lamar. All right, they are, and I think it's shameful. All right, I think it's shameful. And if I don't know who Highly Clutch is, but seems like it's a post of theirs. And I don't know if Highly Clutch has anything to do with Bills fans, but if you look at this, interestingly enough, I was about to say, I think I can make it bigger. All right. If you look at this, interestingly enough, right? It's a bird, it's a plane, it is regular season man, Lamar Jackson, okay? Regular season man, the legend of Lamar. It's a bird, it's a plane. Nope, it's regular season man. Here to dominate from September to December before vanishing into playoff purgatory. Lamar Jackson, I don't see if it's too long. Lamar Jackson's regular season heroics are undeniable, but the postseason struggles keep haunting him like a bad sequel. Now, interestingly enough, I'm not even saying there's nothing wrong. Like, I'm not saying they're wrong in their assessment right now, but let's just keep going. The man's talent is generational. MVP awards, jaw-dropping runs, and highlight reels for days. But until he takes the next step in the playoffs, that means we keep flying, just like this one. So what's it going to take for Lamar to go from regular season man to playoff legend? Let's get the debate rolling. And I mean, I never did look at the comments, and I don't really know how to get to them. But I just thought that was interesting, right? I thought that was interesting. And my hope was, I've seen it a couple times, not in that umbrella, but I've seen it a couple times, and it's very interesting because we kind of got into this discussion last week. We've of course discussed this over the time of the show, time and time again. Lamar Jackson being a great regular season quarterback, and then there being struggles in the playoffs. But it begs the question, and maybe I won't even talk about it too much on this show. Maybe I will let y'all think about it. We can get back into it next week. But Lamar Jackson is a great regular season quarterback. That's true. He's had his playoff struggles. That's true. But I really want to know, I have to know this. Who else is even close to winning a Super Bowl, is even close to any sort of sense of being even close to dethroning Patrick Mahomes to get to a Super Bowl? You can say Josh Allen, right? You can say Josh Allen and we can get mad about the 13 seconds. You can say Josh Allen and you can get mad about flags or whatever and them losing recently because Allen has faced Mahomes in more AFC Championship games than Lamar has, right? And Allen has a better playoff record and all that. But if I'm not mistaken, outside of Brady, there's only been 2 QBs to make it to a Super Bowl from the AFC. That's Patrick Mahomes and that's Joe Burrow one time, right? And if Joe Burrow ain't making it to the Super Bowl, he ain't making it nowhere, right? So realistically, if we're just gonna be honest, if we're just gonna be realistic with each other right now, there's nobody dethroning Patrick Mahomes right now. Not anybody. There's nobody even close. And if we're going to be honest, we're going to be real with each other right here, right now. Who's the closest to Patrick Mahomes in accomplishments. I'll wait. Who could even hold a candle to Patrick Mahomes when it comes to accomplishments, right? Who's got the MVPs? Who's led the league in touchdown passes? Who has had the least amount of interceptions? Who's got a top 5 QB passer rating of all time? And Mahomes don't even have that. Who my biggest thing, I think for Ravens fans, and I might do a more extensive video on this later on, but I think for Ravens fans, I think we got to be okay with the Lamar criticism, and not because, and that don't mean don't stick up for your guy. Definitely stick up for your guy, right? Definitely stick up for Lamar. We gonna all stick up for Lamar, but for Lamar to even be in the same breath as Mahomes, considering almost no other quarterback even gets close to that, I think that means something. I think that means something for what Lamar could be, right? What Lamar could be, especially in the playoffs. And Colin Cowherd, I'll probably do a video on this later on, but because I have it saved, I just gotta I just want to be able to pull it up for y'all. But Colin Cowherd mentioned the comparison between Lamar Jackson and Peyton Manning in the playoffs, and it was almost identical, right? It was almost their performances were almost identical, right, to each other. And that's the thing. That's the thing. Lamar Jackson is the closest thing to Patrick Mahomes when it comes to accomplishments. Obviously, when it comes to the conversation about who's going to be in the Super Bowl, Lamar Jackson is the closest thing to Patrick Mahomes, and Lamar has the accolades to prove it. All the Ravens got to do is put together a clean game. The Ravens as a whole, not just Lamar Jackson, because regardless of what we want to, regardless of the conversations we want to have, we have to remember that the Ravens probably also lead the league in drops in the playoffs. We also have to remember that the Ravens can't get that big stop when they need to in the playoffs, right? And that doesn't absolve Lamar Jackson of anything, of any of this narrative that they want to push. But at the same time, when you are great, the expectation is that you continue to be great. And I know, it's coming, right? It is going to happen. Lamar Jackson is going to be a Super Bowl champion. It's going to happen. Like, I'm just going to be, it's going to be with the Ravens, right? I know some of y'all think they might not be with the Ravens. It's going to be with the Ravens. It's going to happen. It's coming soon. I promise it's coming soon. But y'all, I definitely hope you guys enjoyed the show. Shout out to Rogue Pop hanging out with me for a little bit. It's one more person hanging out, but they didn't leave me a comment, so I don't know who you are, but shout out to you as well for just hanging out during the live stream. Rogue Pod, I'm gonna keep the comment up so y'all can spell it as well if y'all need to. But Rogue Pod is going live as well, probably right about now, actually. So you can go straight over there if you still tuned in. You can hang out with Rogue Pod and see what they getting into as well, because I'm sure Big Trouble in Little China will probably be a part of that conversation as well. But definitely hope you guys enjoyed. Real quick, as always, gotta always remind y'all, just in case y'all forget, because sometimes, you know what, sometimes I forget to post them on there. But anyway, look, the Be More Show is on all major podcasting platforms, so be sure to go over there and check us out as well. Take us with you if you're going to work, you're going on a run. Look, I'm getting in the running now, okay? I'm getting in the running now. So if you get on a run, you going with me, right? We running together, okay? I promise you, you will definitely enjoy it on the audio platforms as well. But we'll see you guys on the next episode of the Be More Show. Until next time, my friends.